This is Run Jump Stomp for the week of April 14th, 2015. I'm Bill, your host, and this week we're going to be talking about news from Blizzard, as well as Unity support heading for the 3DS. At the same time, 2 franchises are leaving the 3DS. We also have an interview with the developer of B.Last, a game coming to Steam, as well as other platforms. That, plus the Longplay and Wishlisted, all coming up on this week's Run Jump Stomp. Thanks for listening. Let's get right into it. World of Warcraft, the big, massively multiplayer game to rule all massively multiplayer games. Something like 9 million people still play this game, and at its peak, I think it was close to 12 million people. I am one of the people who had played the game in the past. I played it for a very long time. I absolutely love World of Warcraft. It is an amazing game. A long time ago, I stopped playing because I felt like the subscription fee that I was paying had me playing even if I didn't feel like it. I felt like I need to pay, or I need to play the game because I paid for it, even if I didn't really feel like playing WoW at the time. I stopped playing WoW back when Cataclysm came out. Cataclysm was an expansion for World of Warcraft. I played Cataclysm for a while. I got probably about halfway through it before I lost interest, or it was really more along the lines of there was something shiny to distract me. I think it was Guild Wars 2 came out. Or, actually, no, it wasn't Guild Wars 2. I remember now. It was Star Wars The Old Republic. I played that for a while, also a subscription-based, massively multiplayer game, until Guild Wars 2 came out. Now, Guild Wars 2 is a buy-to-play, so you buy the game and then you can play it, but you don't have an ongoing subscription. Now, there's been a few times where they've offered me a free month to come back to WoW and try it, and I have tried it out. I still think it's a great game. I don't want to pay the subscription. Enter the WoW token. All right, so it's a new item which can be exchanged for game time or sold for in-game gold. So basically, you can buy one from Blizzard for $20, and then you can put it on the auction house, and people will bid on it, or you can set it as a buy now thing, so then you can get gold from it. This sounds really cool, and it has definitely piqued my interest. I would love to play WoW, but the problem is, when I stopped playing, I don't think my characters had 20,000 gold laying around. I think that it started... The starting price of a WoW token was 30,000 gold, and immediately the game token plummeted like 25% over, I think it was 2 days. So it's cheaper than it was, but it's still not the amount that I have. I think that what Blizzard would need to do in order to entice people to come back and try it out is say, hey, here's a month of game time on us. You come back, you play for a little while. While you're here, hopefully you earn enough gold that you can then buy your next month. And if that's true, then you're going to get a lot of people playing. So they got to give out that free month. Every once in a while, I'll get an email from Blizzard offering a free month. The next time that I get that email, I'm probably going to check it out and see if I can make enough money in a month in the game to make sure that I get the next month for free. Until that happens, I'm probably not going to pick up the game and play. In other Blizzard news, Hearthstone today has been released for iPhone or Android phones starting April 14th. That's Tuesday. This is pretty awesome. I'm pretty happy about this. I have not tried it yet. I was at work. I don't have Wi-Fi there, and my brain is not working. The file size, there we go. The file size was over 100 meg, so my phone wouldn't let me download it unless I was on Wi-Fi. Thanks, AT&T. So I'm downloading it now. and I'm recording, so I can't check it out right now, but I'm definitely going to be playing this later. Hearthstone is one of the best games ever made, especially because it's free. It is a free game, and players have proven time and time again that you don't have to spend a single cent on this game to be competitive. You have to be good. You definitely have to be good. And if you're not good, then having some of the other cards will help. But paying for cards is no substitution for skill in Hearthstone, or for knowing what to play and when to play it. It's not really skill based. It's more of being able to do the percentages in your head and knowing how to deal with certain situations. Regardless, if you haven't tried Hearthstone, definitely try it out. It's a fantastic free-to-play card game, and now it's available on your phone, so if you've got 15 minutes, you can sit down and play a quick match. Unity support is coming to the new Nintendo 3DS. Note that I said the new Nintendo 3DS. That means that Unity Technologies won't be bringing Unity support to the old 3DS. Yesterday, during the Unite 2015 Tokyo event in Japan, Unity Technologies announced that Unity support was going to come to the new 3DS. This is a big deal. A lot of games use Unity as an engine in order to develop their games. A lot of times you aren't able to bring those games to the 3DS because that not platform, the word that I'm engine, that engine, it was not compatible with the 3DS. Now that the new 3DS is a little bit more powerful, it looks like the engine developer Unity Technologies has gotten together with with Nintendo to get their latest game engine now available on the new 3DS. So right now, there's only one game that is exclusive to the new Nintendo 3DS, and that is Xenoblade Saga, which I've bought but not played very much of. I'm definitely going to be putting more time into it, though. I've probably only got about an hour into it, and I'm really enjoying it. However, now that Unity is available on the 3DS, I'm going to be expecting lots of ports of games that have already been developed, because making it in Unity makes it easy to port your software to lots of different platforms. Now that it's going to be on the 3DS, they're going to be able to port those games over really easily. So we should expect to see a whole bunch of exclusives. Well, not exclusives, but games that are available to the new 3DS that are not available to the old 3DS. Which seems like a bad thing. However, that means that there's going to be a lot more games on the 3DS that were not there before. And so I think that's a good thing. Speaking of games and the 3DS, Vision 2015, a Japanese game developer, Level 5, announced that Fantasy Life and Professor Layton, these are two games that, well, Fantasy Life I played. I didn't play a lot of it, didn't really grab me, but it's very popular. And Professor Layton I haven't played at all. They're both very well-known and well-respected 3DS games. And it looks like that both of them are going to be moving to mobile phones instead. Now, that being said, Nintendo partnered with mobile phone gaming firm DNA to bring Nintendo intellectual property to smartphones. It looks like Level 5 is doing the same thing to bring their games to smartphones rather than the 3DS. When asked why they're doing it, the Level 5 CEO, Akira Hino, I'm probably mispronouncing that, sorry about that, he said, "I'd say Fantasy Life has elements and mechanisms which adults find soothing. Although children play games on dedicated game systems, recently many adults have been playing on smartphones. While that's true, I take issue with this. I am an adult, and I play games on dedicated console and on my smartphone. But I play a lot more on my dedicated devices because they have controls. Now, maybe they're making Fantasy Life more along the lines that it's just going to be touch-based. And I'm fine with that, but it almost seems like he's saying that adults don't play on these systems, and that kind of bothers me. They did say that the Fantasy Life is going to be more of a town building experience rather than the last one was almost like a Diablo style action RPG. The new one's going to be more of a town building experience, which isn't something I would really want to play anyway. But I don't like the CEO's comments. This week, I am joined by a very special guest, Joey Andrews, also known as JJ Evil in various places on the internet. He is the developer of B.Last, an independent game, and thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Some nonsense questions just to get started. You have to drive for 16 hours. What do you have in your playlist?
Probably some 90s rock, old school Metallica. I don't know. I just, being a kid of the 90s, I love the old 90s stuff.
Okay. Your picture is on the cover of the New York Times. What does the caption say?
Can you believe this guy is famous? ?
Oh, I like that. There's an alien invasion. What is your go-to weapon of choice?
I'd have to grab a katana, and hopefully that would be sufficient against some kind of laser weapon. I don't know. Maybe I'd rely on my guile, but I'd just like to sneak up behind some aliens and chop their heads off.
Other than working on developing your game, what do you do on your time off?
My time off is usually spent playing lots of games. I love indie games. I love old school Nintendo stuff, and I play an unhealthy amount of Minecraft.
I think a lot of people play an unhealthy amount of Minecraft. Right before we were recording, I was actually streaming some Minecraft myself. It's one of my favorite games.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks you in. My girlfriend and I actually run a server for the local elementary school. They have a Minecraft club, and they get on there, and it's just cool to see 20 or 30 kids just building all kinds of weird stuff.
What grade are the kids that are playing?
Right now it's open to 2nd to 5th graders, and you just get a wide range of personalities and a wide range of things they want to build. It's awesome.
Is it just curious, is it modded Minecraft or is it like vanilla?
It's mostly vanilla. We're using a Spigot server, so we've got a few plugins to, kind of control the foul language, to give us extra moderator powers, that kind of stuff. And we've added a few extra little special things that they don't get in vanilla, but there's no actual mods.
Understood. So now for the actual questions about B.Last. What's the elevator pitch for your game?
If I had to choose, what I was going to say in 30 seconds, it's an old school type platformer with new elements added to it. It's a 2D side-scrolling adventure game. It brings up elements from Mega Man, from Metroid, from Super Mario Brothers, from games like Paper Mario with RPG elements. It's kind of a hybrid of the types of games that I loved when I was growing up.
Very cool. Here's a question. Mario and Mega Man are both really awesome platformers, but the jumping is so different in both of them. Mega Man feels incredibly heavy, and Mario feels very, very floaty. Who would you say the character in B.Last jumps more like?
He definitely jumps more like Mario. I mean, the character is kind of light and floaty, but as the game develops and the character progresses, he gets even more so. I mean, you go from being sort of an average Joe to a superhero by the end of the game. And it's interesting that you brought that up, because if you think about Super Mario Brothers, when you play that game, it doesn't matter if you're playing the first one or if you're playing the new one that just came out on Wii U. The character jumping feels the same every single time. You know, there's a consistency there. There's a finely tuned player feel that has taken years to develop. And that's kind of what I've been going for. You know, that's hard to emulate. That's hard to recreate, that specific feel for the character. And so targeting in on that, making a character that's fun and somewhat floaty and, you know, feels right when you have the controller or the keyboard and mouse in your hand. That's what I'm aiming for.
So you can play this with keyboard and mouse or controller?
Yeah, it's gonna be a PC release, but it's gonna support Xbox controls as well.
All right. What is the monetization strategy that you're looking to implement with B.Last?
I'm hoping for it to be sort of it's going to be really accessible. It's not going to be like super expensive. I know I'm taking a lot of time to develop it, and I'm trying to put a lot into the game. But this for me is a passion. It's a hobby and a passion. It's not what I have to do 9 to 5 to earn my living. So it's not like I'm going to be charging a lot for the game. For me, ultimately, it's more important for a lot of people to be able to play it than it is for me to make a ton of money off of it.
Makes sense. What do you do 9 to 5?
I'm a sign maker.
So you have like a background in art, you would say, then?
Yeah, I have an undergraduate degree in visual art and a master's degree in design, and that's sort of my passion. I grew up wanting to be a game developer, a game artist, actually. Years ago, back when I was about to graduate high school, I applied to a school called DigiPen. I don't even know if they're still around. But
I remember DigiPen.
They were literally the only game design school that existed at the time, and they were in Vancouver, I think it was.
I'm not sure. I thought they were in Washington, across the street from Nintendo's Washington headquarters, but I'm not sure.
I thought they were in Canada. Maybe I'm remembering wrong. But either way, I applied. I got accepted. I couldn't afford to go. You know, I grew up dirt poor, literally a trailer park boy. And I've loved video games since I was just a little child. Since I was holding that little square Nintendo controller in my hand, and that's what I've always wanted to do. And life didn't, necessarily provide me the options to go directly into that. So I did the next best thing. I became a designer. I honed my skills, and I always kept in the back of my head that this is something that I wanted to do. So, and I've taken a few practice runs at it over the years, with open source tools and stuff. I've tried to make my own little games. And finally one day I just said, if I'm going to do this, I got to do it right. So despite my 9 to 5, despite working as a designer in a different industry, I'm putting in 40, 50 hours a week working on my game now, working towards my passion.
So you could say that you've been in game development for a very, very long time. How long have you been officially developing a game for?
I'd say officially since Thanksgiving 2013. Before that, I was writing ideas on paper. I was just hacking away at it, creating pixel art on the computer, and doing a lot of things, getting a lot of ideas together that didn't really apply towards anything. But Thanksgiving 2013 is when I actually started hard developing on this game.
Thanksgiving's a very specific day. Is there a reason why it was Thanksgiving 2013?
Yeah, there was a Steam sale that kind of changed my life. Construct 2 was half off, so I bought it then. And for those of you that aren't aware, Construct 2 is sort of it's a 2D development platform for games. It's HTML5 based, and getting that tool is basically what opened the floodgates for me.
So it being HTML5 based, that means that I'm not a developer. I know a little Python, but does that mean that whatever it is that you make will pretty much run on anything?
To an extent, yes. I mean, it'll run on Windows, Linux, Mac. There are even a lot of consoles have HTML5 support. So hopefully, fingers crossed, the game might actually eventually come out on Wii U or something.
Very cool. So how many people are on the team for B.Last?
Well, it's pretty small right now. I'm the main developer, the main programmer. I do most of the heavy lifting, but I've got a couple of really talented guys working on music for the game, which I have no concept of, so it's good that I've got those. And my devoted, awesome girlfriend is doing some pixel art for me as well.
What you mentioned the music. What is the style of music that you envision for the game? I know it's kind of a pixel art based game, so my guess is chiptunes related or something else.
Well, it'll be sort of reminiscent of chiptune. I'm shooting more for like the Super Nintendo type music where it's not, strictly chiptune. It's a little bit more, I guess, more advanced, more open, a little bit bigger. I'm not going. I guess the best comparison would be if you've listened to anything from like Risk of Rain, that kind of soundtrack.
That game is in my wish list on Steam. I will get that eventually, though.
Yeah, it's an awesome game. It's chiptune reminiscent, but it adds extra layers.
Very cool. Is the game going to have multiplayer, or is it just a single player only?
Well, so far I've been developing it for co-op. It'll have single player and two-player mode for sure. And right now it's same screen co-op. And we've been actually doing some development into online co-op, which Construct 2 supports. If it can be done right, and if it can be done well without a lot of flaws, then I would like to do same screen co-op plus online co-op.
Now, when you say co-op, are both of the characters doing the same thing? Like, I guess I would say Contra, where both of the characters are basically the same, or do they work independently of each other to accomplish a goal together?
It would be similar to Contra in that they're on the same section of the screen at the same time. But one thing that I've already incorporated that's actually pretty cool, I'm sure plenty of your listeners have played Smash Brothers. So when the characters get further away from each other on Smash Brothers, the screen actually automatically zooms out away from the characters so that they can see more of the field. I've got that mechanic already programmed into the game. So like the characters are close together, you get a nice close tight shot of the game board. But as they get further away, you see more of the screen.
Very interesting. I saw on your Steam page, you described the game as an adventure RPG shooter. How do the RPG elements come into play? Is there like a leveling mechanic or tech trees or crafting?
The main character develops as you progress through the game. You collect items. I haven't decided hard on collecting experience points, but I think I'm going to lean more towards collecting items to try to build your character. But the character actually sort of develops with some light RPG elements. So at the beginning of the game, the character's kind of slow, he can't jump very high, can't move very fast, can't do a whole lot. But towards the end of the game, you're more like a superhero. You can run, really fast. You can fly. You can do all sorts of things after you've developed the character that you couldn't do at the beginning of the game.
Now, if you're in multiplayer, how does that work with the not leveling mechanic, but with the items? Does one person pick it up and then both people have access to it, or are the players going to develop independently of each other? Like, I'm going to run fast, but you can jump high.
It's going to depend. It's actually going to be sort of split. Some of the items that you would collect, the characters will both gain together. That's to keep sort of a consistency between what they can access and the levels. Whereas, say for example, I've got a certain weapon that I can use. Well, the second player may not have collected that weapon, therefore they can't use it.
And what kind of weapons are in the game?
I've worked out a ton of interesting stuff. Your basic blasters, missiles, that kind of stuff. Think Metroid. But then it gets a little weirder after that. For example, one of the guns that you get is going to be a shield gun. So you can spray it, and they're actually going to be elemental based. So if you have the shield gun and then you have an ice element attached to it, then you can spray an ice shield up around yourself, and then projectiles bounce off of that. I'm working on sort of a bridge gun mechanic that lets you actually shoot bridges over long chasms that you can, walk across and reach areas that you wouldn't normally be able to get to without it. I've got a lot of weird stuff in my head that may or may not make it into the final game.
That sounds very interesting. Are you going to be planning on doing any DLC for B.Last, or is it going to be released and done?
That depends. I'm probably going to release it and it's done, and then if I update it, anybody that has purchased the game is going to get the updates. In my head, I'm not planning any specific, let's sell this and then do some DLC and sell some more. If I decide to develop further, it'll probably be on a sequel, and once they purchase the game, they've got the game plus any updates until we make a sequel.
Now, we were talking a little bit before we started, and you mentioned that you were looking at taking B.Last and turning it into a engine. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. The game that I started developing back in 2013 it's sort of taken on a life of its own. It has developed into sort of a robust platform that could be turned into many other different types of games. What I've got right now in front of me, I could turn into Super Mario Brothers, or I could turn into Mega Man or Metroid, or just about any 2D side-scrolling type game. And I'm thinking what I want to do with that, rather than continue to create the game under the name B.Last, is turn that into a game engine and then make a game based off of that. I don't think the storyline for the original B.Last was strong enough, so I'm going to turn it into a new game with a new storyline and something that offers a little bit more than what I was offering before. And then, honestly, if the game sells well, if it gets out there and people enjoy it, I might end up just releasing the engine open source to anybody that has Construct 2 and let them make their own version of the game or whatever they want to make with it.
Very cool. Are you planning on doing a Kickstarter campaign or anything like that to help you develop this game?
I've contemplated it. No hard decision has been made yet. If I do something like that, it'll probably be limited in scope and focused on helping me finish the game more than anything. Help me, pay my musicians, hire another programmer, hire another designer, that kind of thing rather than buying equipment or try to pad my income while I make the game. But that decision, I'm going to have to think carefully on it, and it will be made further into the development of the game.
Very cool. All right, and now's your chance to plug your stuff. Where can people find you and your game?
They can find the game at crunchpickle.com. That's the name I've chosen for my publisher. I'm self-publishing, obviously, but crunchpickle.com is going to be the site that we publish through. It will hopefully eventually be located on Steam and Desura and a lot of the release platforms. If they want to get in contact with me directly, Joey J. Andrews is my Twitter handle, so just hit me up there. Is it okay if I plug my game dev group?
Oh, sure. What is a game dev group?
Well, a game dev group, a lot of towns have them. It's just basically a collection of local game devs that get together. They hang out and just do their dev work all together, and it's awesome, dude. You get together. You provide each other like a bouncing board for your ideas while you're working. So
like a LAN party for programmers?
Something like that. Yeah, we meet, every 2 weeks. The local one here that I'm a part of is Game Dev Lou, and that's named from Louisville, Kentucky, which is where I'm located. And yeah, they're a bunch of great guys and gals.
So would that be Game Dev LOU?
Yes.
And that can be found online?
Yeah, you can find them through Gmail. I think their Twitter is @GameDevLouKY.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. Anytime you want to talk about your game some more, just let me know.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for having me.
All right, this is the section called the Longplay, where I talk about something that I've been spending a lot of time on. This time, I've been spending a lot of time playing a mod for Minecraft called Sky Factory 2. Now, I wasn't really going to talk about this, but something very hilarious happened last night. I had about a half an hour to sit down and play a game, and I figured, I'll work on seeing if I can check off one of the checks in the book. Now, for those of you that don't know, Sky Factory 2 is a mod of Minecraft, or a mod pack of Minecraft, put together by Bacon Donut. Bacon Donut is a Minecraft streamer. He's also a personality on YouTube, and he makes something called Nerd Fusion, which you can look it up, or I can maybe I'll put a link in the show notes if I remember. But Sky Factory 2 basically takes Minecraft and takes away the ground, leaving you in what's known as a void world. So there's nothing to stand on except for one tree, and you spawn on top of the tree. And underneath that tree is one block of dirt, and that is all you have to start with. That plus a torch and a book. Now, if you read the book, it gives you clues as to ideas of things that you can do, and it's totally non-linear sandbox play. You can do whatever you want. I played it once hardcore, and I died because I did something foolish, and then it deleted my world. So I started over, and I was like, well, I'm not going to do hardcore this time because I've learned my lesson. I don't want to have my save deleted because I made it one silly mistake. So I was like, I'll just play on hard instead. So I set it up, and I played on hard, and I put some hours into the game, and I was really having fun, and I built up my world, and I even had like a mob spawner, and it automatically would kill the monsters, grab the loot, and send the loot over to my platform so I could look in the chest and get the loot out, and I was really having a blast. And I opened up, there was a bag in there. Some monsters will drop a bag, and if you open up the bag, sometimes there's cool stuff in there. Sometimes it's just junk, but sometimes it's cool stuff. So I open up the bag, and inside the bag is a sacred rubber tree. Now, I don't know anything about the sacred rubber tree, so I did see a few videos where people were using conveyor belts, and I was like, wow, I know that conveyor belts use rubber, so I'm going to plant this tree, get the rubber from it, and maybe I can use that to make conveyor belts, or maybe there's something else I can make from it. Well, those of you that know about the sacred rubber tree already know where this story is going. For those of you that don't, listen up. Never plant the sacred rubber tree. Never. I planted it. I went down to a lower level of my base. I was cleaning up inventory stuff, waiting for dinner to be ready. And I was getting all kinds of lag. I couldn't figure out, why am I getting all this lag? What is causing this lag? I could not figure it out. I went back up to the top, and I turn around and I see this tree. And this tree has grown to be so big that I could barely see the edges of it. And I got a pretty good computer. My computer could not handle having this tree on the game. So I decided, all right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to chop this tree down. Now, this tree is huge, and in Minecraft, you can only take out a block at a time unless you use a mod called Vein Miner. And even then, it only works until the tool that you're using breaks. So I figured I'm going to vein mine the bottom blocks of the tree, and then I'll set the rest of the tree on fire. That was a mistake. So I mined out the bottom blocks of the tree so they aren't touching my base, and then I set the tree on fire, and I watched it burn, and it was really, really cool. But once the fire got up high enough and spread far enough, my computer could not handle all of the little calculations that had to be done by Minecraft, and my game crashed. I open it back up, game crashes. So it looks like I'm going to be on world number 3. So my advice to you is, if you see the sacred rubber tree, never, ever plant it. Next on Wishlisted, a new game came out for the Wii U. It looks absolutely fantastic. It's called Affordable Space Adventures. And the way that it works, and I probably wouldn't play it single player, but the way that it works is one player uses the gamepad and is in charge of part of a ship, while another person uses another controller. I'm not sure. I've seen a video where somebody is using a Wii remote, but I think I've also seen or heard some people talk about the fact that you can use a Wii Pro controller or whatever. So you can use different controllers, I think. But one person is controlling part of the ship, and they're like the engineer, so that they're controlling the thrusters or how much mass the ship has, and they're changing all that stuff on the fly, while the other person is the pilot, and they're moving the ship around. And then you have to communicate effectively with your partner to get the ship to go from one place to another. Maybe there's an enemy, and that enemy is detecting heat. Well, the person on the gamepad can tell. They can say, oh, well, this enemy's detecting heat. I'm going to turn off the heat generating engine, and then we're going to switch over to an electrical engine instead. So they switch over to a different engine, which means the pilot has to control things a little bit differently. And so basically you and the other person that you're playing with are working together cooperatively to get through this area by turning things on and off on the switch, or on the ship, and making sure that you don't run into things, or maybe there's weapons, I'm not sure. The game looks really, really great, and it sounds really fun. I'm definitely going to be picking it up. It's only $20. I don't know if I'm going to pick it up right away, because right now I have a massive back catalog of games. I have Pillars of Eternity to play. I have Xenoblade Chronicles. I have Majora's Mask. They're just starting to pile up. I can't see over them. There's so many. So hopefully I'll be able to get caught up. And when I do, this is definitely on the wish list. If you would like to participate in the show, please email me. That's runjumpstomp@gmail.com. I can also be found on Twitch, Twitter, and other locations under the name Run Jump Stomp. Thanks for listening. See you next week.